Before we begin, if you've ever wondered why certain people seem to get exactly what they want without ever directly asking for it, consider subscribing. This channel exists for people who notice patterns that others miss. The most effective control happens in the space between what's said and what's implied. You find yourself doing things you never agreed to for people who never actually asked. A colleague, call her Sarah, wanted Marcus to cover her Friday shifts. She never asked directly. Instead, she mentioned how exhausting her week was, how her family situation was complicated, how she noticed Marcus seemed to have more flexibility. When Marcus didn't offer, she didn't push. She just became slightly harder to reach. Responses delayed. Lunch invitations stopped. The warmth that had been there gone, but not dramatically. 2 weeks later, Marcus volunteered to cover Fridays. Sarah's warmth returned immediately. He didn't feel manipulated. He felt like he'd finally done the right thing. What actually happened? Sarah never made a request that could be refused. She created an emotional environment where refusing something she never asked for felt like a violation. The control wasn't in her words. It was in the space she left for Marcus to fill with his own guilt. This is indirect manipulation. It operates through implication, emotional atmosphere, and withdrawal. The pattern has 3 components. First, broadcasting without making requests, sharing struggles, mentioning difficulties, creating awareness of a problem you could solve. Second, subtle emotional consequences. When you don't offer, warmth decreases, not aggressively, just enough to be felt. Third, immediate reward when you comply. The relationship restores. You feel relief. The pattern reinforces. None of this requires direct communication. That's the mechanism. This works because direct requests create clear decision points. You can say yes or no. Accountability is visible. Indirect manipulation removes that clarity. There's nothing explicit to refuse. You're not saying no to a request, you're choosing to ignore someone's pain, to be selfish, to prioritize yourself over their struggle. The guilt isn't manufactured, it's self-generated. You create the obligation. They simply provide the conditions. Psychologically, this is emotional leverage through implication. The manipulator maintains plausible deniability. They never asked. You offered. If you feel used later, that's your perception, not their behavior. Control through indirectness is effective because it turns your empathy into your compliance mechanism. You recognize this pattern when you notice. You're doing things you don't remember agreeing to. Saying no feels cruel, even when nothing was asked. Relationships feel conditional on your helpfulness. Warmth appears and disappears based on your compliance. You feel responsible for problems that aren't yours. The person never makes demands, but you feel constantly demanded of. This isn't about whether people's needs are real. It's about whether they're communicated with honesty or managed through implication. Indirect manipulation isn't about what's said. It's about what's deliberately left unsaid, so you'll fill the silence with your own guilt. Awareness doesn't require confrontation. It just requires noticing when your decisions are being shaped by implications instead of requests. If this pattern felt uncomfortably familiar, you already understand why recognizing it matters. Subscribe if you want more psychological clarity, like if this shifted something. Share if you know someone who needs to hear it.